I'm Jimmy Zelinskie. I'm a product manager at CoreOS, now Red Hat, and I'm going to talk about App Registry. So if you're here at Helm Summit, you probably already have this understanding of what an app is. It's more than just a set of containers. Before there were Kubernetes, there was configuration management, so you had all your Puppet files and things like that, and those things composed with your actual application code compose an application. Nowadays, those are Kubernetes manifests or Helm charts, and the goal is to have a hermetically sealed artifact for deployment, kind of like a static binary on an individual machine. So once you have those things, it's immediately obvious that you want to start sharing those things. I think it goes without saying that everybody here has leveraged the fact that Kubernetes is open source and that it has the ability for you to both contribute but also consume the product of other people's efforts. And that's something that you obviously want also in an ecosystem around applications. I also controversially posit that the reason why we're all here today is actually because of that exact success that happened in the Docker container image ecosystem. The ability for them to share images is the reason why we now have Kubernetes. And we would not otherwise have that if everyone was still just using LXC or raw C groups. So this is probably my most controversial slide. If you aren't familiar, github.com/Kubernetes/charts is the Upstream charts repository. This is where the Helm experts maintain community charts for everybody to reuse. There are trade-offs with that. Obviously, those are the Helm experts that are the ones maintaining these charts, not necessarily the application experts. So there could be trade-offs in terms of quality. They have more of an understanding of Kubernetes, but not as much of an understanding as, say, something as complex as Kafka. But quality aside, I consider this to be the largest bottleneck in the community right now. Basically, they have to have the burden of maintaining all of these charts. And if you want to submit a new chart, they have to consider what that burden will be on them to forever forward maintain that. And there really hasn't been anything that has decentralized that process at all, like the Docker container image ecosystem, until App Registry. So App Registry is a project that was started by the Quay registry team at CoreOS. And unlike Quay, which is entirely proprietary, App Registry is developed open source and participates in Upstream Kubernetes community. At a super high level, it's a registry protocol that lends a lot of ideas from existing things, like the OCI image manifests, which are the standard way you represent images, and then the Docker registry protocol to give you a Docker-like registry protocol experience for any arbitrary format. That means that if you can basically zip it up into a tarball, we can support it. So that means not only Helm charts, but raw Kubernetes manifests, KSonnet, any of these weird new tools that come out, they can all leverage App Registry to have a native feeling Docker-like experience. And we believe that this experience is not only what is super important to have a good community and we think this experience is basically the way you actually build this good community in addition to just having a simplified developer experience that people are familiar with because they've been developing with Docker. So this is what it looks like in Quay. So we have App Registry, which is open source, and it has a client and server that's open source, but we also offer this enterprise integration with Quay.io or Quay if you buy it on-prem, and this will actually give you not only a nice UI, but full extensions into authentication and team management. So if you need to integrate with LDAP or any other weird enterprise authentication system, you get all that stuff for free. And you can see some of the other interesting features App Registry has. So we have concept of channels. So you can actually label things as stable and follow those channels and then make sure that, for example, you're always watching the stable channel of this chart. We have a Helm plugin, basically to give you that Docker-like experience on the Helm command line. This is basically the normal flow. You create a new chart, you log into a registry, you can push your chart to that registry, and then later you can pull that down and install it. And any Helm-style flags, like -f for values.yaml, all that stuff gets passed into Helm. It works completely transparently. So I've talked a lot about App Registry, but really App Registry is just one way to solve this problem. if there's one thing you take away from my talk, it should be that you should consider what your workflow would be like if I told you you now had to have 100 times or 1,000 times as many charts as you currently have. What tools would you need? What would you need to change? What processes internally at your org would you need? Because these are the problems that we're actually trying to solve today. Helm v3, that's what we're going to be working on designing, right? And right now, Kubernetes scales to 1,000 nodes, but it probably doesn't scale to 1,000 charts on the human factor. Thanks.